Hey, boys and girls, Doug Giles here. It's Warriors, Rich.
And Wildmen, what's happening, Doug?
I tell you what's happening, Rich.
Did you like that? Did you like that intro?
Yeah, it was energetic. I think the young folks would like it. Might scare Granny, but
well, you know why I did it like that?
I don't know. I have no idea. I have many gifts, but mind reading's not one of them.
Well, my wife Annie told me. She said, "Well, in the intro, Doug's like, yeah, Warriors,' and you're like, and Wildmen, and you sound like you're bored and you don't want to be there." I'm like, you don't know what it's like looking into a camera having a conversation. I said, I'm excited. I want to be there. So I'm kind of ramping it up a little bit for the intro, trying to let people know. I freaking want to be here, Doug.
Yeah, can I have the Borat zeal? I remember every time he got interviewed, he got so excited, and
I hate
he didn't know how to shake hands or stand up and greet the person or hug them or whatever. So yeah, maybe we'll do some virtual hugs like we were told to by our governors and our mayors, because we, Rich, were told that we're in the most deadly plague time ever. And every time you turned on the television, especially CNN, you saw this death counter that was just going tick, 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 tick,
yeah.
tick, 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 tick,
Fox 10 Phoenix like, every day. This is how many new cases. This is how many new deaths. We're all dying. Right. You're going to get it next. Every day. Every day.
Yeah. You know, it's weird. They don't do that with abortions. And I believe that there's a lot more abortions during the given fiscal year than there has been COVID-19 deaths. Mm-hmm. And but nevertheless, you know, we were foisted, you know, the death clock of the Wuhan Weezer. Yep. And I guarantee, Rich, this is our top bill today. I guarantee that a lot of Warriors and Wildmen listeners, I'm talking about the zealots, the subscribers, the ones who give to the war chest, I bet they haven't heard this story. Now, I'm not calling them dumb, but I'm telling you, this thing has been more suppressed than Bruce Jenner's latent homosexuality was for 70 years, man. Because I'm sitting there watching, you know, I got to do the 24/7 Devil Never Sleeps type gig over at ClashDaily.com, my news portal. So I got to be on top of things like Stink on a Monkey. And all of a sudden I saw this article that we're going to yap about here in a second, if I ever shut up. And it's buried way down deep into the Daily Mail and way down deep on the Drudge Report. And I'm like, what the hizzle? And it said, lo and behold, Rich, and I know you and I hate to say we told you so, but lo and behold, let me pull it up real quick.
Pull it up, Doug.
I'm pulling it up, baby. Lo and behold, according to the CDC, now that's not to be confused with CCR, Creedence Clearwater Revival, but the Center for Disease Control. This is, you know, it's an important organization. Would you concur, Rich?
Yeah, it's the organization that everybody's making their supposed decisions based on. Their reporting daily and monthly, and so yeah. So if we're following everything they say, we need to follow this part too.
Yeah, but it doesn't fit the narrative. The CDC came out, I believe it was 2 or 3 days ago. Check this out, folks. 6%. All right, 6, not 60, not 96. 6, man. 6% of the 150,504 COVID-19 deaths recorded actually died from COVID-19 as the proximate cause. That's 9,210 people.
Yep.
So 94% of the people that are in that big old number, and again, I dropped out of math, Rich, when I was 12 and I started doing weed because, man, just didn't compute with my bong resin choked brain. But 94% of the people that they told us took the big dirt nap because of the worst flu ever. It was all, BS. They had diabetes. They had heart disease.
Doug, it's more. It's more than that. It's not just diabetes, okay? Because there's pre-existing conditions, but the report said that the people had, this blows my freaking mind, Doug. They had 2 or 3 issues of comorbidity, which means they had 2, not 1. They had 2 or more other things they were not sick with, pre-existing conditions, which I guess it still goes in that category, that they were dying from. So
Right.
I know you don't like to say I told you so. I freaking get off on it because I said in the beginning, and we can go back and put the podcast clips on if we want to,
Yeah.
that COVID is only killing people who are already dying.
Right. And if they didn't get the COVID-19, if they would have got a common wicked ass cold or flu,
Yep.
which COVID-19 is a flu, and it's been around for many moons and some kind of strain.
Well, it's
of
not
variation.
it's not an influenza virus, so it's actually not a flu, but it's a coronavirus. So, but it's
Right.
similar.
Yeah. So
Because
so,
somebody's going to say that they're going to say it's not a flu. It's like get over your road bump.
Yeah,
Move
but
on.
here's what that is unmistakable. We were spot on. I remember we had Hotze on like in March.
Yep. I
and,
thought about him yesterday. That guy was on point.
Yeah, and so are we. Again, I'm not a doctor, but I did sleep at Holiday Inn, and I have common sense, and I know that people have survived things like the bubonic plague, which wiped out 2/3 of Europe back in the day, which people didn't shut down their economies. Luther didn't stop enacting his reform. Wycliffe didn't stop translating the scripture into the language of the common man. The church went on, the beat went on, and music was written. Shakespeare did some of his greatest works during those kind of death knells.
Yep.
But oh no, Rich, oh no, America needs to shut down all their business because we're been told that everybody is dying from, again, this China virus, and churches in particular. You guys can't continue, but you know what? The mob, you guys want to riot, burn down some cities and towns, you guys rock and roll because the flu doesn't affect you. It only does where people gather for sports, church, and for legitimate small or big business. And that's what we
where
were
it gets
sold.
you. That's where it gets you.
Yeah, Rich, that's what we were sold based upon, this faux science, this specious do that they sold America, that we got to do it for your safety.
Doug, why are all the Walmart employees not dead? Shouldn't everyone at Walmart be dead? Shouldn't everyone at Home Depot be dead? Obviously, I'm not wishing these people are dead, but shouldn't they be?
They gathered in mass.
Oh, you know what it is? The social distancing and the masks are saving us.
Yes.
You're so smart if you believe that.
Okay,
I saw and regularly see people driving down the road with a mask on in their car alone. You're an idiot.
Right.
Our
the
church is never
Democrats-
closing again, Doug. We did
Right.
close our church for 2 weeks because everybody did have COVID. Not everybody. I don't want to exaggerate. 60 people, probably 40 of them were leaders. So we got hit pretty hard. Guess what? Everybody was sick for 2 weeks. We're ramped up. Now we're immune. Strongest church in town. That's what's up. So we'll never close down when the government tells us to close down. If we think it's a good thing to
Right.
close down for the people in our church, we will. That's the decision we make as leaders and as free Americans.
Hello. But again, they've shifted the line of what kind of service that our legislators and our elected leaders, instead of protecting our rights to gather and to assemble, and now they're protecting our health. And it's like whoa! That's not what the Constitution,
That's
and
right.
the Bill of Rights says. You're to protect our rights. And like you said, we're not going to shut our church down again, not for 2 weeks, not for 2 days, because some dipstick in the governor's mansion, wherever y'all's capital is in Arizona, said that I'm doing this for your safety. You know what? Hey, Governor, what's his name? Douchey? Yeah, Douchey. We'll take care of our own health. We'll worry about, our own safety. You protect our right to speak and to assemble. And other, aside from that, then you can back the blank off and leave these kids alone.
Well, check this out, Doug. The Constitution was established for 3 reasons. 1, to establish a federal government. 2, to separate the federal government from the state governments. And number 3, to protect individual liberties.
Well, that was yesterday.
Nothing had to do with health. Nothing had to do, and you cannot quarantine healthy people. I know I've said that 500 times. I'm going to say it 1,000 times. And so then here's something that's going to, I was thinking about this yesterday or day before yesterday. Pissed me off, dude. Think about this. So the bars in Phoenix, cigar bar that we go to, Fox, they took their liquor license. And the reason they took their liquor license is because a block away are all the clubs, and they closed all the clubs because COVID-19. So the people from the club said, let's go hang out and smoke cigars and have a drink. And they did. Like literally, all these young people all dressed up for the club showed up at the cigar bar, hanging out, smoking cigars, having a drink. They said, oh no, people are having fun. Gotta shut that down. So what they did is they took Fox's liquor license away. So then you can go there, but you have to social distance. You have to wear a mask in a cigar bar. That's funny. Until you sit down, and once you sit down, you can take it off. Now they were applying with, the governor and everything to try to get their license back. And we like those guys. They're great, right? They're doing the best. But they can't sell any alcohol, because if you sold alcohol, then somebody could die of COVID. So here's my point.
Makes sense. That sounds like science to me, Rich.
Yeah, well, here's my point in all that. So what does health have to do with a liquor license? So we're going to give you a liquor license. Mm-hmm. And anything that happens on your property that we don't like, we're going to use that to threaten you with your liquor license. That liquor license is a controlling tool that they use to control every bar, every restaurant, you're class 6, you're class 12, you're class this, you're class that. And they threaten them with their livelihood.
Right.
It has nothing to do with the liquor. Why do we need a license to sell liquor, Doug? Seriously. Right. Alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. That's a weird grouping of things. You know why? Because that sounds like a convenience store. I want to be able to go buy alcohol, tobacco, and a gun at the same store and head out, right? But why do we have to have a license?
Yeah, it's the same kind of crap with churches. Like, in order for you to get a tax write-off on your hot dogs for the covered dish dinner, you got to have a 501c3. It's like, says who? Says
hey,
where?
Doug, did you know you actually don't have to have that?
Yeah, of course I do.
Check this out. This is awesome. Most people don't know this, though. You know this because you're a pastor. Listen to this. All you have to do is be operating as a church, and you have all the tax write-off and benefits. If you want a 501c3, you have to form a board. You have to do this. You have to jump through hoops. You have to fill out paperwork. You have to do reports, and you have to do this. And guess what? If you do anything they don't like, they threaten you with taking away your 501c3. Right. And so if you don't apply for it, you can function as a church. But if you apply for it, they wave it over your head. Another thing is they say you can't have freedom of speech. You can't talk about politics, or we'll pull your 501c3. And for those that don't know what that is, that's people can donate to your church and write it off on their taxes. That's a government form, a tax form that says that you have this license to do this. But guess what? Churches don't need it. And you know what? My church doesn't have it. I don't care. Yeah. The government's not going to tell me what to do. They're never going to tell me what to do.
Nope. Yeah, but again, you got a bunch of step and fetches that it's like, in order for you to be a legitimate church and for, look, if somebody didn't have a 501c3. To receive
donations on Facebook.
Yeah. Again, it's like, well, this is what we got to do in order to get money. It's like, okay, you little whore, if that's what you want to do, then go to it. But you don't have to do it. And like you said, you can gather and assemble as a religious organization. You're protected under the Constitution and the governance of Almighty God. And people can get a tax write-off on that. Been doing it for many moons. What you did is that you went the extra stupid mile backwards from the celestial city to the slough to spawn, and you are now appealing to the government for your existence. So you bowed and kissed the ring, and like you talked about with your buddies over there at the Fox Cigar Bar, not that they did or that they're slaves to the government, but they're seeing what happens when they dangle that little alcohol license in front of you like a pork chop in front of a 3-legged chihuahua. And it's like, oh, no. If you disobey, you can't have this. Yep. Listen, folks, we the people of the United States of America, we need to so remember how they effed us and how they lied to us during this fake plague that we, not with physical arms, okay, that we absolutely threatened them, call their offices, send their emails. And it's like, we're not going to vote for you.
We will vote you out. We will protest.
You are gone, brother. Yep. You are, or sister, you are absolutely gone. We don't trust you anymore. We don't like you anymore. If you want to govern like that, if you want to live in those kind of Orwellian conditions, then Rich, I believe, and we're going to talk about it in an upcoming podcast, I've got some great advice for you. Move to Portland. Move to Seattle. Move to Chicago, move to New York, move to some crap hole in the United States that loves, your type of fascism, because in Arizona, Scottsdale, all around Texas and other great places in the flyover states where us poor rubes live, we're not going to be fooled again, as
That's right.
Peter Townsend sang.
And that's a crazy thing, Doug. One preacher said, with the shekels come the shackles. And too many people are playing that game. And it's such a difficult thing because, look, typically we try to be rule followers. We're rule keepers.
Right.
We try to be good people.
Yeah, live at peace.
We're talking about Fox. I mean, they're just one of, thousands of bars and restaurants. But you think about Fox. Those guys are trying. I know the owner is a great guy. They're trying to do the right thing.
Right.
And you know what happens is when you do the right thing, sometimes you get punished and taken advantage of for doing the right thing. And so, and everything's open for him. He's good to go now. He's doing a great job. But there's other places, a huge country bar called the Buffalo Chip that has bull riding and everything. They're not going to reopen, Doug. They crushed them. You know why? Because 9,000 people died. You know what somebody said? They told me on Facebook yesterday, they said, you don't care about those 9,000 people. I said, they were already dying.
Right.
And I said, I don't know if you heard, people die every day. And I said, not only that, if it was 90,000 or 900,000, I still don't care.
Right.
Not that I don't care that people are dying.
Still don't shut down an economy.
That's right. We don't crush the lives and livelihoods of over 330 million people because you're afraid that dying people might die. Like, that's the dumbest thing in the world. That is dumb. Hey, dying people might die. Not might. They're gonna. It's like, well, they could have lived a little longer. Well, guess what? They didn't.
Tell those morons to up their give a shit factor for unborn infants.
They're not
that
going to
are
do
being
that,
aborted.
Doug.
It's like,
They're
oh
not
my
gonna be
God,
consistent.
my 100-year-old grandmother died. How could you not wear a mask? You're a murderer. It's like,
Doug,
she smoked Camel cigarettes for 75 of those 100 years, and she ate bacon and cooked it in Crisco oil. What'd you think was going to happen to Granny? She never exercised. She had more chins in the Chinese phone book, and all of a sudden she gets the Wuhan Wheezer. Yeah, the Grim Reaper is going to take her to the other side. So.
Yep, that's how that goes. And the reality is that people have to understand, man, people die. Could they die of the Wuhan Wheezer? Guess what? Old people die of the flu every year. We don't live our lives based on people could die. People die every day in car accidents.
But again,
we don't
Rich,
stop driving cars. Did you know more children died choking on their school lunch last year than will die of the Wuhan Wheezer?
Yeah, and more kids are likely
no more
to be...
school lunches, Doug, because if it saves one life, it's worth it. Says the 300-pound school teacher who doesn't feel safe to go to work. Well, get a job you can do. You disgusting, lazy,
kids are more
virtue signaling turd.
Kids are more likely to get bit by a shark than they are to die from COVID-19. And but we shut all school down.
I'm more scared to get bit by a shark.
Hey, I'm completely for shutting all those government-run crap liberal madrasa schools down. Shut them all down.
Shut the schools down.
Right.
You know what? I'm starting a movement. Defund public education.
Yeah, and the media.
All the overhead is a
Defund
waste. Defund the media. Defund
But
NBA, Major League Baseball, hockey, NFL.
So I was traveling last week, and which was interesting, Rich, because I haven't been out since March, and had a lot of speaking gigs and a couple of TV things, one in New York and I can't remember where the other one is right now, and it all got shut down because COVID-19. And
9,000 people died, Doug.
Yeah, 9,000. Oh my God, Katie bar the door.
Man, get out the freezers for the morgue to stack the bodies.
Right. That's a great visual. Thank you, Cuomo. Oh, remember how Cuomo said, listen, you selfish bastards, why aren't you wearing a mask? And then he's caught, yesterday, walking his dog with no mask on.
Nancy
Same
Pelosi goes and gets her hair did.
Right. You know, it's here's the great thing about all this, Rich. All right, so I don't have a lot of liberal friends. Got a few, and I think they're getting converted as we speak. I think when this kind of stuff, and this is something,
because that line is moving, Doug.
Yeah, because here's something, and the next podcast when we're talking about these hellish hovels that have been controlled by Democrats for 40 to 50 years, and what's they've been reduced to now under Democratic oversight. But here's something that I think, with the shutdown, a lot of people, they might be apolitical. They might, straddle the fence in regards to which way their, vote would be cast in the days gone by. But I think right now, a lot of people are looking, business owners that were kind of, again, apolitical, and they're seeing that their whole livelihood, like the bar that you're talking about, the Buffalo Bar, what was it called?
Buffalo Chip.
Yeah, so the Buffalo Chip, say the guy's just a good old cowpoke, more than likely. He's an ardent Trump supporter, I'm guessing. But say he's just kind of a apolitical dude who likes to have a good time and entertain cowboys and bikers and the good folks up there in Cave Creek. And then all of a sudden they come and they squash his dream, his livelihood, something he's worked his ass off for.
Multi-generational family business.
Yeah, so all of a sudden, boom, that's gone in, 3-4 months? I guarantee he's going to vote for Trump. I guarantee that he will never, probably, or she or whomever, the couple owns the place, that they'll never trust a liberal again. And I think that that's going to go down en masse. Here's my prediction right now on Warriors and Wildmen. I'm going to say that Trump is going to win by 350 plus delegates. So 350, I'm putting it out there. It's going to be a red tidal wave, folks. Because all these people who are, talking, Biden, he's up in the polls. Like, no, he's not. Did you see Trump's flotilla in Lake Altoona, Georgia?
Yeah.
Did you see it in Miami? Did you see it in Jersey? There's none of that shit piling up and clogging bays and tributaries and any kind of lakes or oceans for Joe Biden. And there is a Trump buzz that's going on. I'm telling you, Rich, these Fox Bar owners, their clientele, they need to know that 9,610 people, 4% of the total that we were told was dying in the hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
And that's why we got to shut you down, ruin your church, ruin your business, make you wear a flipping mask.
Yeah, and mess up your kids emotionally by making children wear masks. Asking us to act like some dominated, subjugated culture that goes around. Like, you think about how that affects people. Let me tell you a great story. So Annie and I went for the last time to a hiking camping store called REI. I don't know if you know REI, but you can put #boycott REI right now. We're never going there again. We were members, and that was our last trip. So we went there, and part of it is because they're a bunch of tree humpers, right? Like, they're a bunch of weirdos that worship nature, and you feel like a weirdo in the store. Like, they're weird. They're not just, I love nature. No, they're trying to, make out with the ground. They're weirdos, bro. So we went in there, and we get inside the store, and you have to stand in the corral to get into the store because they have to wait for people to go out because social distancing. And so they're standing there with their masks, virtue signaling as hard as they can. Like, they're into it. And so we're waiting. Annie goes, do you want to go? I said, I want to get this $12 thing. So we wait in line there. We have our masks on like good little subjugated dogs. And we get up there and we go into the store. And it says, wear your mask like this over your nose, whatever. Well, my wife, Annie, she does not participate with that kind of stuff. So when we're walking around the store, she pulls her mask down. It's like under her mouth even. It's just kind of down like that. And I hear a guy behind me, and he says, Miss? And I was like, this is not going to go good. So a lot of people don't know this about me, Doug. I'm not confrontational.
Right.
I'm 0 confrontation, or I'm 10, let's punch you in the face and get it on. I don't do 2s and 3s. So my way of, because I'm not good at it, I just stay out of it. If it's not worth a 10, I don't get in it, right? So I hear, Miss, and I literally turn around and start looking at things because I don't want to be in it. And it's not that my wife, I don't need to defend my wife. You know her. That doesn't need to happen. And so I hear, Miss, and I know she's ignoring him. Miss, would you mind pulling your mask up over your nose? And she turns and looks at that guy and goes, actually, I do mind. And the guy looks at her and just walks away while she's just staring him down. And I said, hey, take it easy. I just want to buy this thing. She goes, loud, Doug, are we going to be sheep or are we not going to be sheep? How long are we going to put up with this? I'm like, to go in their store, they have a right to say what they did. We agreed to it. So let's just, she's like, no, I'm not wearing my mask. I'm tired of it. I can't breathe. I'm not wearing it. And I'm not going to any store. I'm never coming to this store again. And I'm like, I agree. Can you lower that down about 7 notches on the volume meter? I just want to buy my $12 thing. So I went to go pay, and I left, and I told her, I said, every time I've left that store, I tell you that I hate that store because they are a bunch of nature worshipers. They're weird. And I said, that's the last straw. I'm never going back. So them and their masks and how they want to virtue, that's another thing. People love to virtue signal. They love to wear a mask because it requires nothing of them to be about a cause. They love to stay home. It requires nothing of you to be about your cause. They love to post Black Lives Matter because you don't have to do anything. You're about a cause. Just virtue signaling.
Right. And that's why, the majority of the morons who are, down the funnel, on board, go team mask, and that, government's to protect our safety, and it's for the children and all that other crap.
Who don't get sick.
Here's where you got that. You got that in public school, man. You got that in your little kindergarten class. I was talking to a couple yesterday, and they're starting the school back up, and she just said, kind of as a throw aside, my daughter who's 14, she's not really digging the books that are being assigned to her right now because they're filled rich with vulgarity, sexual innuendo, and guess what? Lesbianism and transgenderism. And I said, you know what? Dude, pull her out completely. I had my taxidermist come over and deliver a couple mounts yesterday, which is always, Rich, like Christmas.
That's always a great day.
It's Christmas to me. I'm looking at my access to right now. Anyway, he said, he said, I'm done also. It wasn't him that was talking about, the books that we're reading. He said, I've just learned, just recently that they fundamentally and radically hate everything that I stand for.
100% true.
And I'm not going to put them in, to the devil's hands for 8+ hours a day to where they're just drilling home all of their, socialistic, Marxist, anti-American, anti-theistic bullshit. Mm-hmm. And I said, we're doing homeschool. And you know what? My kids, they're finished. They're wrapped in about 2 or 3 hours. And the next thing you know, we're traveling and we're having fun and this thing called conversations. And they're not, part of the machine any longer. And listen, parents, there will come a day, and I think it's going to come real soon, unless you want your kid and your family to be this whole, COVID craven, mask wearing, scared of your own shadow stooges of the machine. There's going to come a day from a scholastic standpoint where you're going to say, not anymore, mother snatcher. You're not going to have your hands in my kid's head any longer, and don't know how we're going to do it. But you know what? Millions of people are now homeschooling. I remember people used to mock us, man. It's like, oh, you little retarded kids. They're not, they're
not going to be socially developed.
Socially, it's like they're going to be socially retards. Oh, really? Have you met them? I'll put my retarded homeschool backward ass, stupid kid that you warned me about against your public school educated, Ivy League school educated. Both my daughters run intellectual circles around your dumb kid, and then they could whoop his ass because they were the first to get first two chicks to get a Gracie and Valenti black belt. So bring your publicly educated school around you. My kids will tie him up intellectually and physically, and folks, do it. And here's one last thing, Rich, and I'll get off this stump. If you allow mom and dad, if you allow Caesar to educate your kids, then don't be surprised when they come home Romans. So I rest my case, brother.
Nice closing little shot there. I like that little quote there at the end. That was good. Hey, interesting talking about school, COVID-19. No one can homeschool doesn't work because only the trained professional educators can educate our children. That's what they told us. Then they told us you can't do school online because we need to be there with them in person. There's no way. That doesn't work. Now they're all staying home and everything's online. We have school teachers who are working in the school, Doug. Kids are allowed to go there, but the kids that are going are only the kids who don't have a safe place to be during the day. So it's babysitting, right?
Right.
The teachers that are watching those kids, are you ready? This is going to blow your mind, are not allowed to teach those kids. They have to do online from school with their teacher.
Right.
So the teacher that's standing in the room with you, they can't teach you. You have to be. It's the dumbest thing ever. So Annie took the boys, and the two younger ones are in public school. We don't have a say in that. So she took them to Montana. Took all the boys to Montana, and they went to the lake, went camping up in the mountains, had a great time for a week. Now, they've been out of school for, 19 or 20 years now? They've been out of school forever. Annie calls the school on Monday and says, I'm letting you know my boys will not be in school this week, 5 days. We're in Montana in the mountains.
Oh!
Listen to what they said, Doug. Listen to what they said. Oh, we don't know what we're going to do with 5 unexcused absences.
Yeah.
They literally took 2 months off
shoving-
at the end of the year and passed everybody. But now we don't
Right.
know what we're going to do with 5. And this is what they told her. They said, well, we don't know. And Annie said, well, I'm excusing them. And they go, no, it doesn't work like that. Because, the parents don't have the right to excuse their kids.
No.
And this is what they said, Doug. They literally said this. Well, do you think you can bring them down from the mountains every day for a little while and get Wi-Fi so they can get online for school? Like, that's a real, Doug, that's a real. Annie said,
Oh.
no, I
Right.
am calling to inform you not to look for my children. They will
Right.
be with me in the mountains camping. Thank you very much. You will figure it out. Goodbye. That's the dumbest thing ever.
6% of COVID deaths were COVID only, folks. Let that sink in. Do not forget that at all. We were lied to. The death clock was way, way, way off. Really meditate on that, man. Meditate on, what happened to your business.
Less than 10,000 deaths. Less than 10,000 deaths.
Yeah.
Less than 10,000 deaths due to COVID. Sorry, Doug. Go ahead. I wanted to imprint that on people's brains.
9,610, and that's not right-wing Doug and right-wing crazy Christian Rich. That's the Centers for Disease Control. Turn on CNN tonight, MSLSD, CNBC, NBC, ABC, CBS, whatever. You're not going to hear this, but you can go to the CDC's website and you can see it. And we're being lied to. You've been bamboozled, as Malcolm X would say, hoodwinked. And and meditate on the massive ramifications of believing their bullshit and how it's completely disrupted you. Apologize to your kid for obeying the government and obeying this kind of nonsense.
Yep.
And I think it's one of the biggest stories. I mean, it's like the Russian investigation, the Ukrainian. It's like there's nothing there. There's nothing there.
Right.
Now, they drug it on for 2 weeks, but they crushed our economy. They crushed our churches. They crushed good people on the Democratic side, the independent side, and the Republican side with
and they knew they were lying, Doug.
Full-on lies, man. So
they knew they were lying. They were called out on that, and they ignored it. And the one thing that I would add to that is to remember that it's not that people's lives don't matter, but these people were already dying. These were dying people that died. Dying people died.
Right.
Like, it didn't go get 150,000 people that were out on their way to go shopping and they got COVID-19 and they died. That didn't happen. 9,000 people who didn't have anything else died, who could also have had and probably did have pre-existing conditions. And most of them were over 74 years old. And so this whole thing is fake. So I want people to remember that. And here's another thing as I close to think about. As soon as that information came out, articles were being released saying that we don't understand what those numbers mean. And they're releasing that, and all the libtards are jumping on those articles and posting them and sharing them saying, no, that's not what it means. That's not what it means. It's not what it means. It's exactly what it means. It means exactly what it says. They said themselves 6% of the 150,000 deaths were due to COVID only, and 2 or 3 other things they were dying of. That's from the CDC. No matter how you slice that, it's like a Snickers, man. Still comes up peanuts.
Yeah, and here's another thing that Wes Walker pointed out over at ClashDaily.com. He said the Democrats' major line of attack is based on Trump somehow being responsible for masses of people dying from the Rona. But if they're really dying of something other than the Rona, well, that kicks the feet out of another entire line of argument by the Democrats, and it means It's time to throw open the economy again and get America well and truly back to business. Now check this out. And there's another reason why, dear Warrior and Wildman listener, the Democrats do not want this factoid to gain traction. That reason is the number 12,469. That's how many people died from the swine flu or the H1N1, according to the CDC, back when Obama and Biden's administration was in power. So why didn't that virus have a higher death toll than 12,000? Well, it was the immense wisdom and the competence of Obama and Biden, according to the left. So
great.
H1N1, 12,469. COVID-19, 9,610. Story gone, Rich. Story gone. Governor Abbott said yesterday, he said, you know what? Texas is way down it's like, no shit, in regards to the COVID cases. So he's going, we're reopening the whole state.
There you go.
And he said, we're not going to shut it down.
And that's the problem. And this is my last thought. That's the problem with this, is that it's like when we went to the airlines and they said fuel prices have gone up, you have to pay for your luggage. And then 2 months later, fuel prices went down. And then 10 years later, we're still paying for our luggage. Right. You know what? All these masks and these draconian measures, we're following them, and people are implementing new ones today, even though we now know that it was all fake. And we're still doing it. We're still doing it. You're still doing it. You know why? Because we're stupid. It's time to boycott, protest, go to businesses that don't make you wear your mask, post it on social media, and tell people these people are psychopaths and they're trying to make me wear a mask and I'm not doing it.
Yep. Absolutely, brother.
Warriors and Wildmen, that's what I say.
Boom. Give us money.
Go to warriorsandwildmen.com, subscribe, like us, love us, comment, find us on social media, hit us up, shoot us a message. We'd love to hear from you. And if you want to support us and help push this message out, and it would help, swipe the plastic war chest. It's not a 501c3, but it is absolutely tax deductible. Warriors and Wildmen.